James Hansen, a prominent NASA scientist on climate change, was interviewed by Democracy Now! About the Paris Agreement. I've heard many arguments for fixing climate change, and I'm actually surprised I've never heard his solution before. With all the denialists out there making noise, I guess this one was drowned out. His solution to fixing the crisis that could possibly work politically is, first off, eliminate all government subsidies to energy companies. Next, create a carbon tax directly at the source of manufacturing, so we tax all oil, coal, and natural gas sold based on their total carbon or pollution output. This will cause prices to rise to their real costs, instead of the costs ignored because they're being pumped directly into the collective air for free right now. Next, instead of taking that tax and using a cap-and-trade system, which unknown to me was looked on quite coldly by climate activists early on, instead take 100% of the tax money and divide it equally among every citizen of the country, quite similar to a basic minimum income. For those unfamiliar with a basic minimum income, please check out my video, The Uselessness Pandemic. With this paycheck, people will choose for themselves where to buy their energy from, and the money will more than offset the rising price of fossil fuel, which will make alternative fuels more than competitive and will drop significantly in price over time. When I first heard this, I thought some money should go to replace the electrical grid with a smart grid, but in states with higher levels of solar power, energy companies are already building smart grids, and to pay for it, they're charging anyone connected to that grid a fixed rate, even if they get 100% of their power from solar, reducing the appeal of personal solar panels in those areas until battery technology catches up so you can go grid-free. The basic carbon income would pay for the fixed rate, returning the viability to personal solar panels in those areas, and building the smart grid. As everyone gets an equal paycheck, people who travel less or switch to alternative options early on would actually make a net gain, which would help out the poor the most, which isn't a bad thing considering they have had to deal with the worst of pollution for several centuries. Wealthier people with big houses, vehicles, and lots of private jet travel would pay more than they do or switch to different modes, fast-tracking research tech like algae biojet fuels and better battery tech. One state oddly does this, but not for carbon reasons. Alaska. Everyone gets an oil paycheck just by living there. That all studies have shown has a compounding knock-on effect that helps their economy in substantial ways and in mitigating poverty. Democrats and less carbon-financed Republicans could both support this, as it doesn't give any more power to the government than it already has, and doesn't grow the government at all. The ending of tax subsidies and breaks to fossil fuel industries would also help fix the deficit. Sadly, with the Koch brothers and other carbon-owned politicians in power on both sides, it will take a while for this to be implemented, especially since I've only just heard of it, and I had only heard the arguments for basic minimum income last year. Keep spreading this idea to people you know, so it can be considered a real option. At the moment, it sounds too much like socialism to many people, though I've heard staunch libertarians I know push the basic minimum income as well. So the idea is growing in awareness, which could quickly get us off carbon for good at a breakneck speed. Hey there, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw from my channel, please subscribe and donate to my Patreon. If you have evidence to counter what I say, please provide it. If you would like to see what I was doing with this channel 6 years ago, please click the links on the screen. Thank you so much.